Hey everyone, this is Rocky and welcome to the next video in the professional communication modules. This video we're going to look at writing more concisely, which is a core writing skill at least in your field. And I'll give you a general approach that you can use to guide your decisions, but I'll spend most of the video looking at concrete, practical strategies that you can start applying right away in your writing. Some of these ideas I shared in the feedback to your Fall 1 assignment, but not every student got the same advice, and these are areas that I've noticed in the past that every student and even professors and professionals struggle with. So let's get right to it. First, why is this important? Look, people are busy, and this is especially the truth in the finance industry, which changes by the second with stock prices being updated, new news coming out, social media, just everything driving a whirlwind of activity that can affect prices and the analyses and reporting that's done on these trends and figures. So there's a lot of pressure in the field. So for the most part, people appreciate when you can present your information clearly, concisely, upfront, and in an easy to access way. So we'll be working on doing that. Also, let's be honest about our society. It's getting more and more impatient. It seems like every year we can get our goods and services and information more quickly than ever. I soon expect my packages to be drone delivered 15 minutes after I order them on Amazon, and the quicker society moves, the more we expect it as a standard. The same goes for our documents. So people, when they look at your report, they're going to want to know what it's about quickly, going to want to be able to digest and understand the information as easily as possible. And you're going to be writing for a variety of audiences as you move forward in your academic and professional careers. You'll have to learn how to do that effectively. One of the pieces that will make it effective is writing more concisely, so we'll look at that. And the last thing I'll say about why this is important is it's just good for you in terms of your competition, not just with your classmates right now who can write the best paragraph, but let's say when you're searching for jobs. Conciseness is important within cover letters. And I do have a resource on cover letters, by the way, which I'll upload them to Blackboard as an optional resources for anybody who's looking for internships or jobs moving forward. But in general, the stronger you can write, the better you're going to look not only in class but in your profession, and that could be a piece of helping you move forward in the future. Of course, your skills and a lot of other factors will weigh into that, but the writing is a piece of it. Okay, so just as a general approach, I liked this quote by Einstein. I don't know in what context he said it. Probably he was speaking toward science or philosophy or something, but everything should be as simple as possible, but not simpler. The reason that I like that last part, but not simpler, is because I don't want you to think that when I tell you to write concisely, when I give you these assignments of the paragraph, that we want to cut information that's important. Okay, we want to keep the important high-value information, but we want to give that as concisely and easy to understand as possible. So remember that clarity is always number one. First, we have to clarify our idea. Once we have that established, then we want to write that as economically, straightforwardly as possible so that it's easy to understand. Okay, so just remember clarity number one, conciseness a very close number two. Okay, so a quick recap before we jump into the examples. I mentioned this in the paragraph videos, but you should be keeping your sentences in general to a rough range of 15 to 25 words. Research has been done on this. I haven't read it all, but 20 words is one recommendation I've seen, for example, from Garner in Modern American Usage, I think, or in his HBR business writing book, I think it was. I added a little padding to that on either side, 15 to 25 words, because I think it's easier to work within a range like that. This will probably apply to the majority of your sentences. Just to put an arbitrary percentage to it, let's say 80% of your sentences will fall roughly in this range. You're going to have some shorter sentences and you're going to have some longer ones. That's okay. You want to vary your sentence length. You also want to vary your sentence structure and your approach so that you keep the reader interested. Otherwise, you sound like a robot. But generally speaking, you want to stay around this range. What happens if you go over 30, 40 words? Like I said, sometimes it's okay, but especially when you start to do it consecutively or multiple times in your paragraphs, it can seem overwhelming to the reader. And usually it also means that you have too many ideas. So either you have too many ideas in one sentence, which is usually too much, or you have one main idea, but you have too much extra information, which we'll look at some examples of how that can happen as well. So again, try to stay in this range most of the time with some flexibility for obvious reasons. Okay, your paragraph should be about 4 to 6 sentences. Maybe even we can stretch that to 4 to 8 in some cases, but try to keep within that rough range. Too short and your paragraphs don't have enough focus. Too long, and probably they are also in focus because they probably are addressing too many ideas. So again, this is a rough range, but more or less you want to keep this length. And if not, just look and see, if your sentences are too long, see if you have more than one idea, if there's some way to break them up. And if your paragraphs are getting over 8-10 sentences, take a look and see if you really have more than one topic and whether there should be 2 paragraphs. Your documents in general, about how long should they be? Only as long as needed. There's no page limit I can give here because there's so many different kinds of documents. However, you never want to be in a situation where you feel like you're adding length for no reason. So you are past that stage of your academic career if you were ever in that. I know I was at one point where I had to write 10, 15 pages for essays for no reason, even though the argument could be done in 2. Forget that. Moving forward, you are making the most effective, strongest argument that you can for all of your assignments. And if that takes you 1 page or it takes you 5 pages, that's what it takes. Now, if your professor asks for something specific, of course you have to follow that. But generally speaking, you want to make your argument as concisely as possible and effectively as possible at the same time.